Hi, it's Stephen here from Sound of an Ocean Wave, and this is day 9 of the October Daily Draws. Let's see what message we get today. And I'll be taking the first card from the Ghost Tarot, followed by an Oracle card from the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. So let's use our first card and get the reading underway. Okay, here we go. And we have the Justice card. We may have had this already this month. And this is about fair dealing. This is being fair and objective in the things that we do and addressing situations and weighing up people in an objective, fair-minded way, trying to eliminate any personal bias or prejudice and trying to come based on what we know to be true. But of course, the caveat with that is that it's relying on what we know, and it's we can only assess on the basis of whatever information we have, and we have to make sure that the information is reliable and trustworthy so that we are in fact basing it on true statements, true accounts. As a matter of fact, no, it hasn't come out this month. It must have been last month in the other deck. And then we had Justice recently. That doesn't matter. It's out today. So, so we have to be fair-minded. So we have to establish what the true facts, not what we believe to be true, but what the actual evidence states is true. So it's evidence-based assessment of everything that we're looking at. And we need to make sure, yes, it was on the last day of last month. It was it was on the 30th of September, so just before we started the October draws. So, and it's come out again this month. So, and as I say, it's about that objectivity. And we need to weigh up the pros and the cons and see which side the balance comes down on. Now, we're not, you see, this is the thing with justice, because of the scales, and everybody thinks of balance, and everything has to, both scales have to match equally 50-50. No, they don't. Unless that's what the evidence produces, and it's a dead heat. But usually the scales of justice come down one side or the other, depending on the weight of evidence on each side. And you have to give fair evidence to both sides of the scale and then see which one it comes down on. That's how you come to a fair judgment. That's where justice comes, on the basis of the evidence, not people's opinion, not fact, not feeling. When I say not fact, not feeling, but facts, and not facts that are made up, not false facts, It's got to be evidence-based and verified factual evidence. So we need to be careful about judging something according to just what we see or feel. We have to do a proper, in-depth investigation, as it were, or an assessment, at least a thorough assessment of the situation in order to make a fair judgment on the issue. So be careful of weighting your judgments down one way or the other by your preferences or your, or the outcome that you would prefer. We do that sometimes, don't we? We want the answer to be the one that we would prefer it to be, that would fit with what we like. But is that what the facts and the evidence suggest? Not suggest. Evidence states. It doesn't suggest. It defines the situation. But of course, and the more evidence you have, the more likely of the fuller the amount of evidence that you can get, the truer the assessment's going to be. A small sample of evidence, well, it may point in one direction, but there may be a heck of a lot of evidence pointing the other way that you haven't brought in or discovered. And if you just go on the small handful of evidence that you've got, you'll come to a judgment based on that evidence, but it will be the wrong one because you've missed a load of vital information that would have countermanded that and would have put the scales down one way or the other. So that's why it needs to be a complete, fair, and utter objective assessment of whatever situation that we're facing. And that's what the justice card is all about. It's based on truth. It's based on justness and justice. It's based on evidence and weighing it up fairly, and not, we don't tip the scales one way or the other because that's the outcome we want. That is what the justice card is saying to us. Let's be honest and fair in all our dealings, and also in our dealings with ourselves as well. Sometimes we can be hard on ourselves or not hard enough. We need to be fair, based on facts, not what we feel about ourselves, but on what evidence are we basing those feelings about ourselves as well. So this is about objective assessment and evaluation of a situation or a person or whatever it may be, including ourselves. We need to perhaps to take a step back and get an objective viewpoint. And sometimes if we're too close to the matter, that's when an outside pair of eyes and ears, etc., input from somebody that doesn't have skin in the game, that they may be able to give some insight that we're missing because we're too close to the issue. So that's what I believe the justice card is saying to us today. Okay, let's see which oracle card we get to go with that. Okay, let's see. Owl. Well, that's always a symbolism of wisdom, a symbol of wisdom to me. So that's why we need that wisdom and discernment. So that's the first thing, to speak to us, to give us once we have facts and truths about the situation, we need the wisdom to assess it correctly and give the right kind of evaluation of it. So it's about also looking. So I just got this about the owl, and this to me is how the owl's head turns, not quite 360, but it's got its head scopes quite a turn of almost a full circle, and thereby can take in a lot of view around from different angles. And that's so he doesn't just look at something from a narrow point of view. He can turn his head and see things from more than one angle, and he gets a fuller picture. And that's the kind of thing that I believe that's what the justice card is representing, turning our heads far enough to see the full picture, not just a little bit that we're actually looking at. That to me is, and using the wisdom from what we get to make the right call in evaluating and judging the circumstances. And that, I believe, is the message of the cards today. So that's today's message. I'll be back tomorrow with day 10. Until then, thank you for listening. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again very soon. Okay, bye bye.